everybody. I am going to make a lightweight tote bag, or you can use it as a gift bag. So these are pretty sturdy placemats. The back of them is red and the front of them is plaid, okay? So I'm going to use these two Dollar Tree placemats to make either you can use it as a tote bag or you could use it as a gift bag. For the handles, I'm going to use this webbing. So what we need for this project, we just need two placemats from the Dollar Tree, some type of webbing. If you don't have webbing, then you can use some type of material or anything like that for your handles. But I'm going to use this webbing. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is decide, do I want my tote bag to be a tall tote bag? Do I want it to go this way, or do I want it to go this way? You know what? Because I think I'm going to use it for a gift bag, I'm going to go ahead and make it tall, okay? So the first thing you want to do is you want to take your two placemats, and this is the easiest way to make a tote bag. It's already lined because the front side is plaid, the back side is red, so it gives you a nice lined look. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put the pretty sides together, okay? And you can either use pins or you can use clips. Now this is going to be really easy because the top part is going to stay open. So you're going to sew down the side, across the bottom, and up the other side. When you start, you always want to do a reverse stitch or back up, because that will lock your stitches in place, okay? And I think what we're going to do is we're going to box the corners. So this webbing, I got tons of it from a lady off of Facebook Marketplace. I don't know, it was like 6 or 7 different colors, and all she wanted for all of it was, I think it was $5, and it had probably about 6 different colors. So, you know, for whatever reason, she had bought it and she decided she didn't want it. So she sold it to me, so I got a really good deal on it. So this bag, really, I could say the cost of it for me is like probably $2.75. And this would be either, it's going to be a tote or it could be a reusable gift bag. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let me see if I can turn around where you can see what I'm doing. First thing I did is I put pretty sides together, and I made sure to line it up on both sides and on the bottom, okay? So that is already lined up. Now, when I sew, I'm going to go ahead and start right here at the very top. Let's see how I want to do this. Or do I? Yeah, I'm going to start right here. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so this is going to be my bottom. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do the sides first. So, and I'm still on the fence of if I'm going to box my corners or not. But the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to line up my presser foot. Let's see if I can. My presser foot right there is at the edge of the placemat, okay? So what that's going to do is I'm going to be able to keep my presser foot at the edge of the placemat, and that will give me, basically, it'll give me a nice straight seam. And it's not going to be too big of a seam allowance either, okay? It looks like it's maybe about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to remove my first clip, and I am going to go a few steps forward, a few stitches, and then I'm going to back all the way to the end, okay? So I backed up all the way to the end because I want to make sure that these stitches are locked in good. Okay, now let's see if I can, there we go. Okay, all right, so now I'm going to go ahead and go all the way down, being careful as best I can. Let's turn that so you can see it. Can you see my stitch there? I'm just keeping that presser foot lined up, okay? As I come to my clips, I'm removing them. The feed dogs are just feeding my fabric. That's not a perfect straight stitch, but it wasn't too bad. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way down to the end. Okay. I went to the end. I'm going to back up because I want to make sure. Let me back up. Okay. All right, so this is going to be the bottom. And you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead. And I'm going to turn my work. And I'm going to sew across the bottom. So I just left my needle down, and I turned my work, and now I'm sewing across the bottom of the bag. Keeping my presser foot lined up. Okay. I'm keeping my presser foot lined up on the edge. Let's go where you can. Okay. I'm going to go all the way across the bottom. And I'm going to stop when my presser foot is kind of, let's see if I can show it to you. My presser foot is all the way to the end. My needle is down, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep my needle down, but I'm going to raise the foot, and I'm going to pivot my work. And that is going to give me a nice corner. And now I'm going to start sewing up the other side. Make sure my presser foot's down. I'm going to go ahead and lock my stitches in. And I'm going all the way up the side. Okay, if you can see, I sewed up the first side of the bag, then I sewed along the bottom, and now I'm sewing up the other side. I don't have the best view going on here. Let's see if I can rectify that. We want you to be able to see it. Okay. Okay. Now, all right, so as I'm sewing, I'm taking my clips out and I'm guiding with my hand. I'm keeping my foot lined up with the edge of the placemat, so that's going to give me a relatively straight seam. Okay, so I'm going all the way up, and then I'm going to back up. You always want to lock in your stitches. Okay. So now I have all three sides of the bag sewn. Okay. So I'm just going to clip this off. Okay. So here we see that it is sewed on both sides, and the bottom is also sewed. Okay. I could take this right now and I could flip it, and what it would give me would be a bag that is just a one-dimensional. Let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and flip it and show you guys what it would look like if we did it this way, okay? Because you actually could do this if you wanted to. If you wanted to, you could just have this be a one-dimensional flat tote bag. I'm not even going to clip my corners yet because I just want to kind of give you an idea of what this would look like. Okay, it would just basically be like a flat bag. I could take it if I wanted to, and I could just turn it under like that, and I could put the handles on it, and you would just have like a flat gift bag. But what I want to do is I'm going to box the corners, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the bag flipped out, wrong side out. Okay, to box corners, all you do to box your corner is you get something square and you just cut a little square out. Let's see what I want to use to do this with. I could use that, but that's a little small. Okay. All right. So you can measure, but I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to get my scissors and I'm going to cut a square out. Okay. Okay, this is how you cut the square. You see that square? It's right here. So now I have a template to do the other side because you want them to be exactly alike, okay? So I'm going to the other side and I'm cutting a square the exact same size, okay? So this is what you have now. And this is going to box the corners on my tote bag. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure, because I have cut the edges off, I'm going to make sure that everywhere that I stop sewing, that my stitches are locked, okay? So I'm gonna put my needle right in my stitch line, and I am going to sew a couple of stitches, and then I'm gonna back up, okay? Because I just want to be sure that everywhere my stitches have stopped, that I have backed up so it's locked in nice, okay? Now, because of the fact that I cut my bag, I decided to cut my corners. What that did is that took my stitches out that I had already locked in, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go to each side of my bag. Let me put you over here. Let's see how you can, I want you to be able to see this. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go to my seam and I'm going to put my presser foot down. I'm going to line my needle up perfectly with my stitch line. I'm going to go up, whoops, a few, and I'm going to go back a few, up a few, back a few, okay? And what that did is that locked my stitches in. I want to make sure that my stitches are locked in. Okay, all right, so the bottom of my bag, I'm going to do the same thing. I did it to the sides and I'm doing it to the bottom, okay? Because I want a tote bag that will basically sit up on its bottom by itself. Okay, so again, very carefully, I'm going to put my presser foot down and I'm just going to take a few stitches on the bottom and then I'm going to reverse, and those stitches are nice and locked, okay? We always want to lock our stitches. And because of the fact that I went ahead and decided that I wanted to square the bottom of my bag, so when I cut the corners out of my bag, which is the easiest way to square the bottom of a bag, when I cut my corners out, I wanted to make sure that I went back to my seams and I made sure that they were locked in, okay? So you go a few front, and then I go back, front, and back. Now, all my stitches are locked in, which is what you want. Locking in your stitches keeps them from fraying. Because if you don't lock your stitches, then what actually can happen is your threads can come out, and you don't want your threads to come out. So these are my corners, which I cut off of each side of the bag, okay? And see these stitches right here? They were locked in. So what I wanted to do is make sure that I went back and relocked these stitches in. Okay, so this is the bottom. Now I'm going to show you what you do to make a box corner. Okay, so I've got it boxed like this. So what I do is I take my fingers, okay, and I pull it out straight. Got to do this. Got to pull it out perfectly straight. Line up your seams. I'm going to take clips and I'm going to, where's my clips? Here they are. I'm going to put my clips here as I pull these seams out. Okay. There we go. Yep. Just pull them right out. Make them nice and even. Needs to be even. It needs to line up. There we go. Okay. Come on. Okay. Just pull them, match your seams up, and clip. We want it to go straight across, and it's very important that to the best you can, something happened here. Let me see. Ugh. There we go. Oh, gosh. Okay. Yeah, I got an issue. And for some reason, my placemat is giving me trouble. There we go. There we go. Okay. There we go. That's better. Okay. Pull it back out. And clip. Pull it out. Do not want this coming apart. Okay. So you line up the seams. You can do what is called nesting the seams. And to nest the seams, you go straight across and you put one seam one way and one seam the other way. Okay? Now what you can do is you can take a pencil and you can take a ruler and you can draw a straight line right across, so you make sure that you get this seam perfectly even. Okay, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to line it up with my presser foot, but you do what you feel comfortable with. Okay, so I got my seam all like it needs to be, and I'm going to use my presser foot as my guide. I'm putting my presser foot, and I'm going to give you a shot of this. You need to see this. See let me see how I can do this where you can actually see it. Oh, it's not working. I'm going to come to this side. Okay. Orientation. All right. Okay, here we go. You see my machine, my sewing foot, the sewing foot of the machine. I have got it lined up with the edge of the fabric. So that is going to keep my seam allowance even, because I'm going to line them both up the same way. And I apologize. There we go. There's the presser foot. That is one side of my bag. And I have opened it up, and I'll show you on the other side how I did it. Now what I'm going to do, let's see. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist and put my sewing needle down. I am going to make sure my presser fits down. I'm going to take a couple of stitches, and then I'm going to go back, okay? Because it needs to be locked in. I'm keeping my presser foot lined up. I wish. Okay. My seam, I'm going to have to go kind of slow because it's a little bulky where the seam is. Okay. Okay. All right, now I'm going to trim this. Now, all right, so while I'm right here on this side, I'm going to change my sewing machine to a zigzag, and I'm going to go to the edge, and what I'm going to do is a zigzag stitch. Nope, got to go off the side. Let's try that again. That wasn't quite enough. You want to go off the side of your fabric. Maybe I need to make it a little, okay, that's the length, and that's the width. I'm making it a little wider. Okay, now, and I'm doing a zigzag. And what the zigzag will do is it will stop it from fraying. And you do not want it to fray where you cut the bottom of your bag. So I'm going to do that one more time. Better safe than sorry. I am going to do a zigzag right across the bottom. Nobody's going to see this because it's inside of the bag, but I'm going to make sure that it doesn't come loose. There we go. All right, nice zigzag all the way across. Now it's time for me to box my other part of the bag. Okay, so I need to take my sewing machine and put it back to a straight stitch. You don't want to forget that. Okay. So here we have sewed across with a zigzag after we did the straight stitch. Okay. So now I go to the other part of the bag, and I'm going to pull it out just like this, lining up my seams and pulling the bottom of the bag like this. Okay. There we go. Let me go ahead and okay, I'm going to use my sewing clips. I'm going to get this lined up nice and straight. I'm going to put my clips on here. So once I get it lined up, I don't lose it. Okay, Let me bring you back over to this side. Now this is I'm just pulling it apart, lining up the edge of the bag. There. If you can nest your seams, which means you put one seam one way and one seam the other to try to reduce the bulk. Woo! Okay. So now this is done. So what I need to do, remember how I lined up the bag? I lined up my foot, the presser foot. I'm going to tell you something. It is not easy to box the corners of these placemats. I don't know why it's giving me such a hard time. I don't usually have a hard time. But anyway, nice and straight, okay? So then what I'm going to do is I go to my sewing machine and I line up the edge with my foot, because I want to make sure that this seam is the same size as the other seam, okay? So the first thing that you do is you line up your presser foot. I'm going to go ahead and twist my needle, put my needle in, okay? I'm going to go forward a few, and then I'm going to go back. Uh-oh. Okay. Needle. Okay. This is what happens when you do real videos in real time. Because this is what sewing is about. Stuff happens. So my needle just came unthreaded, but that's okay. I went ahead and put my clips back on, and I'm just going to rethread this needle, and then I can go right and fix the end of that, fix the side of that bag I was working on. Y'all probably think, Lord, that woman's crazy. Well, I am. But still, I love to sew. I love to make things. And right now I'm threading my needle. There we go. Got my needle rethreaded. Okay. Easy peasy. Pull both of my strings, my bobbin string and my needle. All right. So here's what my bag looks like. And I am going to come over here and line up with the edge of my presser foot. I'm going to go ahead and put my needle back down. I'm going to go front a few and go back a few. And you can do it a couple of times. Okay. Now, keeping my foot lined up, I'm taking out my last clip. When you go over the part that's thick, it might give you a hard time, but I'm telling you, that's why I love this sewing machine. This sewing machine, it goes over thick stuff and it does not give me a hard time. Okay. All right. So, this is what it looks like where I sewed across the bottom of the bag. Now, the last step in boxing this last corner is just like I showed you before. I'm going to change to a zigzag foot because right here, I don't want this to fray. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can change, zigzag stitch. You can put your machine on a zigzag And you can just go over the edges. Make sure you're kind of sewing off like an overcast stitch, which is what I'm going to do. Or you can use pinking shears. And I love my pinking shears. And they're the scissors that just cut, and they make like triangle look. And what that will do, that will also keep your fabric from fraying. Okay. Oop. Let's see. Anytime I'm sewing something real thick, I use this little purple tool, and it will help put your material, it'll help it feed under the presser foot. If you have any trouble, that'll help. Okay. All right. Now, I did a cross one time with a zigzag. I'm going to cut it loose, and I'm going to do it one more time because I do not want my bag to fray. It's going to be on the inside. Nobody's going to see it, but I do not want it to fray, okay? So again, I'm going to come over here, put my presser foot down, line it up. I'm sewing towards the edge because I don't want my bag to fray. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I've got that done. So I've got my corners boxed. Let's see. Okay. All right. Clip my threads. Murphy, hush. Okay. So now I'm going to turn my bag inside out, or right side. Hush, Murphy. And now you'll see what the bottom of the bag looks like with the corners boxed. Hush, Murphy. Okay. So now see how the bag stands up? Okay, I'm going to push all my corners out. Now this is a nice tall bag. Murphy, hush. And what I'm going to do now, this is a bag with a flat bottom. That's what you get when you box your corners. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to go ahead and fold my edges under. Okay. Let me twist. I'm going to make this a little, going to make my bag a little shorter. Okay. I'm turning the edges down and I'm clipping. Okay. And you want to turn it down the same amount. And I'm going all the way around with my pins. Okay. And I want to line my seams up. And then the last thing, I'll need to stitch around to put the bag, to put it down. I'm making sure that I fold it down equal amounts. And then I'm going to have to stitch all the way around, and I'm going to cut my webbing to make my handles. Okay. I could use my bigger clips. I'm just using my small clips. Okay. Make sure. Okay. To show you inside how I have folded it down. And it stands up. And it's just going to be a gift bag. Okay. Got this just right. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this extra table off of my sewing machine. Make sure I go back to a straight stitch. My length is set at about 3.5. Let me go all the way around. Make sure that it's even. It kind of helps because it's got plaid. So the plaid helps because you can really tell if you've got it even or not. Okay, so now I've got the table off. So this is what you call a free arm, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew all the way around. I'm going to slip this on here, and I'm going to come right here, and I am going to sew all the way around. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my handles on my bag. Okay, let's see. Let's make sure we got this. I want it to be correct. Okay. Okay, I'm going to back up. I went straight and then I backed up. And I'm just sewing around. And this is just, it's putting It's making sure that where I put where I folded it, this is going to make sure that it stays down. Okay, now I'm coming to the seam, so I'm going to use this to help feed. Okay, now and this is just going to be, it's a reusable gift bag. It could be used for a tote bag. Now I'm coming to the seam. So again, I'm going to use this just to kind of help feed it through because it's thick. Okay, and I went and I met where I started. Okay. All right. So here's my bag. Okay, let's turn you around. Okay, this is what the bag looks like. It is red and green plaid. It was made from 2 placemats. The bottom is flat. Inside is red. Okay, it looks lined. That's where, when I bent it down. And now the last thing to do is to put the placemats, to put the webbing on the bag to make the handles. Okay, so that's the last thing to do. And the way I do that, let's turn it around. Okay, I just put my bag flat. I'm going to take my webbing. I'm going to decide about how big I want it to be. Okay. Probably about that big would be enough. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so it looks like it's about 14 inches. So I'm going to measure and cut my other handle the exact same length. Okay. Okay, I'm looking. Okay, so this webbing, it will fray. So what you do to keep it from fraying is you take a lighter. Let's see if there. And you just melt the edges. And if you melt the edges, that will keep it from fraying. Now, the edges are going to be inside of the bag, so you're really not going to see them. Okay, how come you're not? There we go. So again, you could also, if you wanted to, you could zigzag across instead of using flame if you didn't want to use flame. Okay. All right. So last step, I'm going to take these handles, make sure that they are basically the same. I'm going to take a pin and stick it where I want it to be. Okay. No, I don't want it to be that. Do right there with the edge. Okay. Now I'm just eyeballing, but you can always measure if you want to. And I'm just taking this pin. So this is what, when I get it sewed on, this is what my handle is going to look like. Okay, this is my bag. It can be a tote bag or it can be a gift bag. I'm going to put my other, see how I have it pinned on? I'm going to do the same thing with my other handles, getting it in the same spot. So I'm going to pin this. Okay. Now, basically, you have some choices in how you want to sew your handles on the bag. These are just going to be sewed. I'm going to just use a coordinating thread, and I'm just going to go across, and I'm just going to sew them on with a straight stitch. I'm going to keep the free arm off just like I've done. So let's see. And turn it around. So this is the bag. These are the handles. You can either just sew back and forth, sew up here, sew here, however you want to do it. You can do it on where I've already top stitched. You can, if you wanted to, you could sew a square. You could make an X. You can do anything. You could just sew the square to to put the handles on the bag. So I'm just going to sew them. And that's a gift bag made with placemats from the Dollar Tree. It looks like it is lined. And that's that. So reusable bag, gift bag, whatever you want it to be. Okay, and this is just a real simple tote. And all it is 2 placemats and handles. Thanks for watching.